What's up guys, Joshua Rivas here from RivasFX.com, and in this video we're looking at another hiking trail. If you missed the last video, this is going to be a guide to some of the trails that I tend to hike. We've been looking at the nature of the hiking conditions. We're going to be looking at some key points to look for turns and here and there, and also of course the big highlights along the trail. Today we're looking at Falling Rock Falls. Falling Rock Falls is a nice waterfall located just outside of Montevallo, Alabama, or just southwest of Alabaster, Alabama. This waterfall is pretty seasonal, but pretty nonetheless. It'll be located just off one of the back roads, and you'll find a closed gate with a sign on it that says not to park in front of the gate. So pick a side on the outside of that gate, park there, and if it's too crowded, park on the side of that road. You're going to pass that gate and enter onto a gravelly kind of dirt road, and you'll continue on this path past the tree line into a very kind of open land. And on cool days, such as when I went in the winter time, it can be pretty chilly with the wind gusting across that open land. As you continue on the first half of the journey, you're going to come across your first fork in the road. Here you're going to take a left. That's going to keep you on the path to eventually the trail. To the right, it should come to a dead end. As you take your left, continue on straight, and as you get past all the grassland, you're going to start to see the end of that path once again to your second fork in the road. This time you're going to take a right, and once you take this right, you're going to see kind of a more dirt type of path with some power lines to your right and the tree line to your left. Continue straight and you'll come to another fork in this path. This time to your left in the middle of the tree line is going to be your main trail down to the waterfall. Straight ahead of you is going to be another dead end. Once you take that left and you're on the trail, it's pretty encompassing by the trees, so pretty shaded. It's a little rocky, so it could be muddy at times, especially after a good rain, but not too hard nonetheless. A little bit of elevation gain going downwards first half. You'll come back up on the return trip back. As you get on this trail, you're going to come to a fork. You're going to see a little bit of a creek crossing if it is running, and if you go in the wintertime it will be, so it'll look like a creek with a few rocks to cross it, or you can take a right. If you want to get a little bit easier and probably stay on the main trail, you're going to take that right and not cross the creek. Once you get past this particular fork, you're going to come to another opening, and you're going to see a left and right. On your left, you're going to come to the top of the main waterfall. This is very seasonal, so if you're coming in the winter months or really after a really good rain, you're going to see the water flowing towards the top of that fall. Remember, there's no real mountains in this area. There's not really a natural source creek for this particular waterfall, so very seasonal in nature, but pretty once you have water flowing over it. If you're wanting to see the top of it, go to the left at the fork. To the right at this particular fork is the way to get down to the waterfall. It's going to get a little bit tricky as you go from this point onwards, so keep that in mind and take your time. And if you keep on this path, you're going to come to another fork. Straight ahead of you and to your right is pretty flat and may be deceiving as to that's the main trail. Actually, you're going to take a pretty sharp left switchback, and it will start to descend pretty rapidly down to the bottom of the falls. Since it descends pretty rapidly, I do advise taking your time going down this particular cliff. There are rocks to kind of get your foot in there, but they're not great. The waterfall pretty is a nice sight as you're going down the cliff and down towards the base, and you start to get a really good idea about how tall that waterfall is. And you're starting to see behind the waterfall as well, a very nice cave-like feature, really cool rocks. There is graffiti here, but nevertheless, just take in the sights and sounds of the area surrounding this particular feature. It still is pretty cool to go behind the waterfall, especially when it's running. So really the trail, I think, ends once you get to the base of the falls. You can go down a little bit towards the creek if it's running at this particular time, and then check out the waterfall from a really first-person point of view at the very base of the falls. If not, just stay near the rocks a little bit higher up. Still a great view nonetheless. Take it all in and then get ready for your journey back. Just remember, as you're going back up, remember that fork you took to get down? Well, you're going to do the exact opposite. You're going to take the switch back to the right and then cross a few rocks, past the gorge, and back towards the top of the falls. Take that left again once you get to the top of the falls. Remember, just backtrack the way you came, and you'll find your way back underneath the tree canopy and eventually back to the main fork in the path that you took to take a left. So this time, take a right. You'll see the power lines on your left with the tree line on your right, and follow this all the way back to the main gravel road, and there you go. You're heading your way back towards where you parked your car. In hot season, wouldn't be surprised to see quite a few snakes on the main part of the gravel road on the way in and on the way out. Given the fact there is no tree cover, the grass is kind of tall, and with the sun burning in there, especially in the summertime in Alabama, it's gonna be pretty hot, and I would expect to see snakes out there. I recommend this trail and would advise to do it in the winter months when it's a little bit cooler and hopefully not as many snake problems, just as I did not experience. So hopefully you have that same experience snake-free and the waterfall is flowing so you can take in that wonderful sound of the water flowing off the cliff. And if you're sitting behind the rocks, that nice cool air with the water right in front of you. Really good spot to take it all in, take a break, and then hike back up. Get back out in the outdoors. Because remember, wherever you go, it's always amazing. The trail to get to the top of the waterfall is a little long, so it may seem pretty boring, a little rocky. Make sure you have some good shoes to wear along the way there. But once you get to the top of the fort, that's when it starts to get a little bit intricate, a little bit more rocky. And because of that, I do rate this a 2 out of 10. Relatively easy, but use your own discretion and definitely take your time getting down to the base of the falls and watch your step along the rocky terrain.